A man suddenly lost his family. Then he started drinking 5 to 6 cans of a allegedly healthy beverage every day, and this caused his kidneys and liver to stop working. This is his story. DM is a 51-year-old dad brought to the hospital alone. He is suffering from what he can only describe as the worst stomach pain and nausea he ever suffered. When he gets asked further questions, he tries to answer, but all he can do is emptying his stomach in front of the nurse as the pain gets worse. He understands that the situation is serious, but DR doesn't have any family member to call on his phone. His only emergency contact is his boss at work. You see, DM is a dad who lost everything. He was the dad of an 8-year-old son, his father joy and pride, until a car accident took everything from him. 4 years ago, DM almost lost his life in a car accident. What is worse is that DM lost the only thing that really mattered to him, his son. DM's wife was unable to cope with this tragedy and left him. His life was shattered to pieces. He didn't have anything to live for except for his job as a software programmer. Catherine here. Today's video is not just a case study, a real story of a patient that ended up in the emergency room due to a beverage that is supposed to be completely innocuous or even healthy. This video is based on a real story, and it is also an important lesson for all of us, in my opinion. One of the most brutally advertised beverages of our times is way more dangerous than people realize. Especially when, like in the case of DM, someone abuses these drinks in the hope of being able to overcome a bad situation. This is what happened to DM in the months prior to his hospitalization. To cope with his grief, DM decided to dedicate his life to the only thing that his accident didn't take away from him, his work at a software house. Only when he was at his computer programming and debugging his code, DM was able not to think about his son. But as the weeks passed, it seemed harder and harder for him to focus on his job, and he was eating less and less every day. But that didn't really matter, did it? He crossed his mind that maybe the reason why he wasn't eating and wasn't able to focus was depression, but he never wanted to talk to a psychologist about it. Was he depressed? No, it's just tiredness, he thought. Doctors are for sick people, which he wasn't, he thought. Besides, he was going to do anything in his power not to lose the last thing in his life, his job, and seeking mental help wasn't the right move for him. So he did what some of his colleagues were doing when they had a hard time, programming. Okay guys, I want to pause DM sorry for a moment because the lesson he is about to learn is more important than it may seem on the surface. Never ignore the symptoms. Things could have gone in a very different way if DM at this point in his life sought counseling instead of trying to drown his pain away in his job. But instead, he tried to ignore what his mind was trying to tell him and to go on with his life. And this caused him to do a seemingly innocent mistake. A mistake that costed DM his kidneys. One night, DM was alone at work again. Why coming back to an empty home, he thought. He decided to drink just one more can of his favorite drink to see if he was able to work just a few hours more. Those cans he was taking from the fridge in the break room seemed to be the only thing able to help him. And his company was happy to provide him with as many as he could chug, as long as he was hitting his deadlines. But were those cans going to give him wings or to send him to the emergency room? What DM was drinking more every day was an energy drink. Yep, maybe you thought it was beer, but it isn't. It was maybe worse. Over several weeks prior to admission, DM appetite had declined. The exception were the 5 to 6 16 fluid ounce sugar-free energy drink cans he was drinking every day. And that night, he decided to drink just one more. Why coming back to an empty home after all, when there was still work left to do? Immediately after drinking that last can, DR didn't feel well. The bottom of his chest was burning. He wasn't able to breathe normally and was starting to feel really anxious. Imagine, images of his family came to his mind again and again. To take his mind off of everything, he started writing some code. But his heart fluttering and his anxiety was starting to make concentrating impossible. He emptied his stomach in the bathroom sink. He could feel his heartbeat in his throat. The stomach pain was reaching his neck. It was coming in waves, each wave more painful than the last. Anytime he tried drinking some water, that water would come right back up. Eventually, the pain was so intense that he had to call for 911. So question, what happened to DM kidneys? When they were finally able to test his blood, doctors found out that DM had hyperglycemia, which was strange, not only because he was not diabetic, but also because since his hospitalization, more than 1 day ago, he wasn't able to eat or drink anything. He was still in great pain. Eating was out of the question for him. This brought the attention of the doctor to his pancreas. The pancreas is the organ that's supposed to release insulin to get rid of excess blood sugar. Another test of his long-term blood sugar levels suggests DM now has prediabetes. But with all the abdominal pain and the vomiting, doctors have a different idea of what could be happening. On day 3, the pain was getting worse. While the nausea is still there and his abdomen is still causing a great pain, DM's back starts to hurt too. Laboratory tests finally revealed significant hepatic and renal damage. DM was dehydrated because he couldn't keep any water down, so he was started on IV fluids. They gave him medicines for the pain and he felt better, but only for a short time. DM pancreas was getting worse. It was literally starting to digest itself and it was starting to swell with fluids. And while the medical team decided to wait and see what happened, DM body temperature started to increase as his blood pressure starts to drop. A fever is a sign of infection and it's not a good sign in someone with a pancreas that's digesting itself. A blood test now finds that DM's liver and kidneys have failed almost completely. Now the doctors are starting to get worried. You see, DM never told them about the 5 to 6 cans of energy drink he was consuming every day for the past weeks. Now guys, before we see how it ends for DM, before we see if the doctors are able to find out that the energy drink is actually causing his problems, there is an important question that needs an answer. Is it safe to use energy drinks if you have kidney problems? Low energy levels are really frequent among those who have kidney problems or diabetes. And when you feel exhausted all day, every day, reaching for a can of sweetened energy that literally gives you wings, as advertising keeps telling us, may seem a wonderful solution. So you may think about reaching into your refrigerator and grab a cold energy drink. That will keep you going, right? Well, not exactly. There are reports associating energy drinks consumption to increase stress on the heart and vessels even in healthy young adults. In this study, those drinking energy drinks had a significant increase in their resting blood pressure, which could predispose to cardiovascular events, heart attack, chest pain, stroke. And while energy drinks such as Red Bull, Dark Dog, Rockstar, Burn, and Monster are sold in among other soft drinks and fruit juices, they do have some controversial ingredients. Experts believe that especially the presence of large amounts of sugar, taurine, caffeine, and glucuronolactone may be dangerous for the kidneys and heart. A recent study even linked cardiotoxicity to energy drink consumption, again, even in young and healthy people. Yes, energy drinks may seem like an easy way to help chronic kidney disease and diabetics get through their day, but they do have health consequences. And while acute kidney injury has rarely been reported with energy drink consumption, it can happen and it can be fatal. Time now to see if DM was able to recover from the worst mistake of his life. DM is now drifting in and out of consciousness. His pancreatitis is turning into a blood infection, a serious life-threatening condition even in a hospital setting. The doctors are still not able to find the cause of the pancreatitis, which makes finding a treatment impossible. They are still trying to treat the symptoms. As limited oxygen gets to his brain and DM is drifting in and out of his life, he's finally able to tell the doctors about his excessive use of energy drinks. With supportive care and antibiotics, and thanks to a medical team that paid attention to him, DM was eventually able to get back home safe after the worst mistake of his life. And I hope that he was able to find meaning in his life again. Okay guys, let me know if you like this case study, this story, because I will publish more like this one. It may even become a series. And by the way, if you missed my previous case, you can watch it now. It's up here, and this is all for today. Thank you for watching.